Joining us now is Hilary Fordwich, President and founder of Strellmark. Hilary, it's great to see you again. President Donald Trump has promised across-the-board pay rises for every sailor and service member in the United States, and he made this announcement at the 250th birthday of the Navy. It was certainly received well. The crowd was cheering. And Trump also touted his $1 trillion investment in military resources, including building a fleet of ships on American soil. Now, Hilary, the Navy has also achieved its best recruitment year ever this year.
Oh, yes. He's going to he's reshoring all of the manufacturing. He's going to build a far stronger Navy and again, back on US soil. And also those pay rises you mentioned, you're right, they're for the Navy and they're across all the military service areas. He's a big proponent of the military and he believes, as Reagan said, peace through strength. And of course, the Department of Defense has been renamed the Department of War under the leadership of Pete Hegseth, who was serving in the military. And last but not least, what I love about what they're saying is not only should there be high standards and the same standards for men and women, you can serve if you can do exactly the same sort of standards. So no more of the sort of DEI nonsense, but also to the generals, we shouldn't have fat generals and we shouldn't have fat service members. So they're all on alert, Gabriella.
Wasn't it a brilliant speech by Pete Hegseth? This is what he had to say at the Navy's birthday.
Your diversity is not your strength. Your strength is your unity of purpose, your shared mission, your love of country.
Hilary, he's just on fire at the moment. That speech coming just days after he said no more fat troops and declaring that woke is well and truly over in the military.
Yes, he did. And as I said, he said the same standards across for men and women. And by the way, as a woman, I mean, I think we should have women in the military if you can do the same as a man. Who has ever said, no, actually, you know, if my house is burning down and I need people to run in and pick up family members and rush them out, no, I want someone who can't lift someone. Same in the military. We need people who can meet the standards. That's what they're not anti-women. They're saying meet a certain standards. And by the way, there are some very strong women out there. It's not anti-women. Just the certain standard level, which I think is appropriate.
Absolutely right. Now, I need your help. I don't know who is more delusional, failed presidential candidate Kamala Harris or failed vice presidential candidate Tim Waltz. And unfortunately for us here in Sydney, Kamala Harris is coming back to Australia in just a few months' time. And she's been on this media blitz promoting her book 107 Days and giving speeches where she's desperately trying to rewrite history. Take a listen to this.
And here's the other thing that is quite unprecedented. And it was the tightest, closest presidential election in the 21st century. He does not have a mandate. That is not a mandate. That is not a mandate.
Hilary, she seems to have forgotten that Donald Trump won all 7 swing states and the popular vote. Trump also gained ground in every state and most counties. I mean, there are clearly people around Kamala Harris trying to convince her to run again, seeing as she's giving speeches like this. And now Tim Waltz has responded to criticism of his performance during the election campaign, and this was his self-reflection. It wasn't lying about his military record or performing terribly in his debate against J.D. Vance. He was suggesting, or even I should say, suggesting that Republicans are Nazis. But his self-reflection is that he's just too nice.
As far as the book and things like that go, I think she has every right to be critical. I do think I let her down on a couple things. And I warned them my Minnesota nice thing is if somebody's being nice to me, I'll be nice to them.
You're talking about the debate with J.D. Vance where she
these people have
you.
seen me debate a teacher and me, and this is nervous tick or habit that we have when you're a teacher. When someone else is speaking next to you, you instinctively nod and listen and try and listen.
Hilary, I mean, listening to both of them, I mean, it's a little bit triggering. It brings us back to what we had to listen to all throughout last year in the lead up to the November election. And both of them, they're trying to rewrite history, just trying to paint a completely different picture of themselves. What did you make of it?
Yes. Well, first of all, actually, they make Hillary Clinton, who kept whining about not winning, look actually really pretty sane. So she's the one that benefits from that. And then with regard to Kamala going down under to visit you, lucky you, Gabriella, and why don't you keep her while she's down there? But now a few facts And that I always love that when somebody once said that, facts are very stubborn things. They're irrefutable. You're right. She didn't win any states, but also she did not win the popular vote. She did not win the Electoral College. Since 1932, Herbert Hoover, she did not flip any counties whatsoever. She lost all the swing states. It was an absolute national mandate for Donald Trump. So there was no way under any circumstance that it was close whatsoever. And he absolutely had a mandate. She also lost the House, the Senate, and the Supreme Court. So that is what you consider a mandate, yes. And then as for Tim Walz, Tampon Tim, he cannot seem to do the right thing. And whether it was stomping around in a field and not being able to even work his gun, pretending to be, a macho man, everything he does really looks somewhat pathetic. And all I can say is I'm actually really glad. I'm really happy to see those clips because it's a reminder that we should be grateful every day that we have President Trump.
Oh, 100%. It really is. Now, let's talk about Elon Musk versus Netflix. Last week, Netflix shares saw its biggest weekly decline in 6 months. The stock price dropped by more than 2%. And it comes after Elon Musk began campaigning against the streaming giant over its trans content that's in children's programs. Here's just one example of what's on there.
It's not the park. It's me. I'm trans, Norma. And everyone at school knows, and everyone at home knows. And being here, it's like a whole new place. I can just be Barney, and I can choose if and when I tell people. I've never been happier. And that's saying something when I spent today chased by terrifying zombie mascots. Pugsley reminded me how important it is to live your life without apology. So I think I gotta give living here a shot, don't you?
That is a show on Netflix, Dead End Paranormal Park, and it is advertised for 7-year-olds. Now, the show's creator, Hamish Steele, who also allegedly mocked the murder of Charlie Kirk, that's the show's creator. Now, this is a huge movement, what Elon Musk is doing. It's been one of the top trending issues on X for days now. We know that Netflix has hundreds of millions of users. It's a platform with massive influence. And we're hearing from a lot of concerned parents about the content that's deliberately being produced to push this pro-trans agenda to children, Hillary.
Yes, absolutely. And particularly those shows, it's approved or they're for children 7 and older. How absolutely ghastly for children that are that young. They actually, I have children, and children that young, they aren't even talking about sexuality or thinking about it. So first of all, it's appropriate even to be talking about anything that's sexual. And then the other issue I have as well, and to your point, by the way, there's a hashtag cancel Netflix, which is spread like is an actual phenom. But then their stock is down 2%, Netflix. So Elon Musk is really having an impact on their bottom line. The other issue I have is layering on top of this, you look across the board at Netflix and what the average person is watching is literally all rubbish. This is rubbish with a massive left-leaning thing, but it's such a pity that people aren't watching more history, anything that's non-fiction, learn about the world. And there's so much about the world that's really interesting and can be fascinating. And it actually is, you're growing and learning. And one of the things I really do think, I don't think it's just a conspiracy theory. I think this is part of the dumbing down of the masses. The less people know about history, the easier it is to manipulate them. And this is part of that, I do believe.
Let's talk about what's going on in the UK. Keir Starmer's digital ID is being slammed. Now, just over a week ago, Keir Starmer announced that this digital ID would be mandatory for workers in the UK. Now, anyone with common sense is clearly going to be against this just because of the level of control the government would get. Also, by forcing this digital ID on workers, there are huge concerns around privacy, surveillance and digital rights. Now, Keir Starmer's also being warned that this scheme could become a goldmine for hackers and scammers to steal your money. So there is this real risk of data breaches. And now 2.8 million people, nearly 3 million, have signed a petition against digital IDs. That does not surprise me, Hillary.
Yes, absolutely. And think about it. The biggest, scariest thing after the fact that the government has control and insight into absolutely everything, which is scary enough, talk about Big Brother, is for those that are actually the criminals. This is really easy to hack. Who doesn't think that there are hackers that are more sophisticated than the government? I think that this is very easy. And actually, the model is based on Estonia, where they've had terrible crimes against people, where they've had everything stolen, their funds stolen because of the hackers. So I think it exposes the average citizen to have everything wiped out. So I think that's very dangerous. And last but not least, I do believe that one of the huge backers of this is Larry Ellison, who's actually donated a huge amount. And there's sort of all these people that have a lot of, let's just say, selfish interests behind the push to this. And I think it's something that's dangerous, let alone the last but not least, very importantly, Big Brother seeing into absolutely everything. And also, of course, in the UK, they want to make it a cashless society so they can track absolutely everything everyone does.
Yeah, that is a hard no from me. Such a slippery slope there, and you are spot on. Hilary Fordwich, President and founder of Strellmark, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure, Gabriella, anytime.